I talked earlier today about inner activism and about how it's great to do things that try to make the world a better place, that feed someone who's hungry, that kind of thing. But making a choice to do something like that is based on your human ego understanding of the world in terms of what you think would be the right thing to do. Which, someone is hungry, giving them food, that's pretty clear. But things aren't always that clear. And especially with distance, sometimes you might look back at something that happened a long time ago and realize, oh, that person needed to suffer. They needed to go through that. They needed to get to that place that would then allow them to have true happiness, true peace, or whatever the case may be. I don't know. I just know that it's not something that we have the vantage point to judge. So while outward activism can be great, it has to be anchored in inner activism. If you're outwardly doing stuff from a place of guilt, then that's a vibrational poison that is infecting your good deeds. On the other hand, if you work on inner activism, if you work on getting in alignment with the flow, with love, with compassion, and that is a process not of going towards love, it's a process of shedding away the things that have been layered on top of you that get in the way. Whether that is a false value, whether that is a carrot that does not resonate with you, whether that is some sort of greed or some sort of self-judgment or doubt that then makes you reflect and judge others. There's so many layers and layers and layers and layers that impede the flow of divine energy that I think that we can tap into. So as we become more in tune, more in tune, more in tune, more in alignment with that, then everything we do is flavored by that goodness. And then you have no choice but to do the right thing. You have no choice to be making a positive impact in the world. Not because of the specifics of the action, but because every action is infused with that. You become a vessel. You become a leaf floating in the cosmic stream, and it takes you where you're supposed to do it. Maybe you weren't supposed to give that person food. Maybe you're supposed to take that and paint with the ketchup. Although, if you're getting messages to paint with ketchup, we should talk. So, that being said, did I say we were going to do hug? Boy, I'm talking a lot. So, and I can tell from my personal story is that I have believed in this concept of interactivism for a long time, but I had a little bit of doubt. Like maybe I was just being selfish. Maybe I was, not wanting to face, the darkness. I wanted to stay in light, stay in light. But I found this year especially that I've become so drawn to giving. Last night, my brother, they came home from this thing, and they didn't have milk, and so they were talking about, oh, one of us, we probably should go tonight and get some milk. And I was driving home. I'm like, wait a minute, I can go get the milk. And so I, went to the store, got milk, and drove back as they were like coming out of the house to go run this errand at 11:30 at night, and they've got young kids asleep, and they were like, and it was like, I didn't. It just that's just the way that just flowed because that's what I felt like I was supposed to do, and it just felt it felt so good. And then I got a call today with this long message from my brother, and it was like, wow, it just felt like being in the flow. It just felt like the right thing to do. And the whole Help the Homeless First Saturdays thing was all about that. So I'm getting a little chatty. I miss you guys. Okay. So wherever you are right now, let's give ourselves a squeeze. Squeeze our torso, this body, this incredible vessel. This is our interface to the universe that gives us sensations, that gives us so much awareness, so many experiences experienced through this body, through this vessel, through this vehicle. Thank you, body. I'm so in awe of not just the way it works, but the way it repairs itself. I mean, how many things do you own that are as old as you are and still work and self-repair? That's incredible. But I acknowledge that this shell, this vehicle, it's just a shell. It's not what I am. If I was paralyzed and in a bed, I would still be who I am. But there is a more subtle shell that's layered on top. What we were talking about earlier, with all those false values and socialized beliefs and judgments, and that we've been overtly and subtly taught, hypnotized over the years from our parents, from our teachers, from the media especially, from the water cooler, and then it becomes self-perpetuating as it becomes the status quo value system. But and depending on who you hang out with and what you've experienced, that determines what your shell looks like. Maybe it makes you into a Mets fan who's a Republican and a Catholic. But those definitions are not who you are. By the way, if there is any Mets fans, Catholics in this chat room, the names used were not intended to welcome Mets fans. But acknowledge that those definitions, those titles, those personality traits that you've acquired over the years that you begin to think of as who you are is not who you are. You are an expression of the divine. You are the way the universe sees itself and experiences itself. And these personality layers are the impediments to that. The dirty lens over the top. So as our vibrant, pure white light of the universe flows through us, it's through all these dirty lenses that we've gathered over time. So our job is to just clear the lenses, clean the lenses, clean the lenses, remove the lenses. That's a daily practice because they dirty up. The minute you get into traffic, they get dirty. The minute you turn on the news, it gets dirty. The minute you hear somebody in passing, it gets dirty. The minute you see a People magazine cover, it gets dirty. So we acknowledge that we are not the sum of those dirty lenses. We are a pure light beam straight from the divine. We're expressions of the divine. And as we become aware of that and forgive ourselves our tendency to forget that, to being caught up in our day-to-day shell, we remember that everyone we encounter is in this exact same situation. Some of them aren't as lucky as us to even question it. And so they live within that shell of identity, so convinced that the borders must be protected and the government is screwing me. And that filters get so dark the light can barely even crack through. But we need to know that the light is in there. So as you see people through your week, as you encounter people, especially the ones that clack, clack, clack against your shell, recognize that that's shell clacking. And that beneath them, you can look through them, you know that there is God light inside them. Maybe it will never get out, but we can still love them. So for just a second, let's imagine all the shells that we've encountered this week and all the shells in the week ahead as just dissolving. Just visualize hundreds of bright white beams of light coming from the core of the earth, shining through people until the whole globe is just illuminated, a ball of light. And we are just one beam, just so lucky to be aware of that. as stunted and crazy and minimal as our perceptions are, just having a crack at that awareness and just having a little teensy bit of appreciation for that gift. Wow. On behalf of Grandpa Caleb and all the love warriors, happy Hug Nation. I love you. Thank you for being the light, feeling the light, opening yourself up, being present in this moment, and letting that vibration become a part of the world. Well, it's already a part of the world, but thank you for amplifying it. Namaste.